Good morning, geographers, and good morning, teachers and learners. I hope everyone is doing good and keeping safe. I think the purpose of this presentation today is to just discuss the memo of the paper that we wrote yesterday, which was on the 8th. Remember, we wrote Geography Paper 1. Which was for the duration was for 3 hours, and the marks were for 150 marks. What I want us to do before we even go on is to just remind ourselves of the instructions that were given on the paper, so that as we answer and check on the memo, we always try and align ourselves to the instructions that were given. And as you see the instructions there, that says this question paper consists of 3 questions. Section A has question 1, which is climate and weather, allocated marks for 60 marks. Question 2, geomorphology, allocated marks were 60 marks. And then you have section B, which is question 3, map skills and calculations, allocated marks, again there is 30 marks. Now, learners were required to answer all 3 questions, and our question paper came with an annexure. That is very important, that you can't answer any questions without the annexure. So I'll just show you this is what we expected the question paper. Every question paper that we're going to write, colleagues, has to be accompanied with an annexure. Now, the learners, very importantly, it's very important that our learners follow instructions so that they get maximum marks. Then you see instruction number 5, start each question at the top of a new page. Number the answers correctly according to the numbering system used in this question paper. Do not change numbering. Do not write in the margins. Draw fully labeled diagrams when instructed to. Now, this is very important, number 9. Answer in full sentences except where you have to state, name, identify, or list. Write in full sentences when answering paragraph questions. I think teachers and learners, this is very important so that we don't penalize you. Ensure that all your answers, like the instruction number 9 states, are in full sentences. Now, again, instruction number 10, units of measurement must be indicated in your final answers. Now, this is quite something that most of our learners do not do, that they'll write 1020 instead of writing 1020 hectopascals, or they'll just write 14 instead of writing 14 degrees Celsius. So please ensure that in every response that requires units of measurement, you indicate the units of measurement. Then I just want to skip off to the section B instruction. Very importantly, in this question paper 1, the map that was provided for us was the map from Gr12 south and an orthophoto thereof. This does not necessarily mean that for paper 2 you're going to have the same map. What I'm trying to say here is that every question paper will come with its own map. I hope it is clear that people don't start thinking that because in paper 1 we had a map from Gr12, and then it will also mean that you're going to have a map from Gr12 in paper 2. No. Paper 2 will come with its own map. That was very important. Now, number 3 again, if you look at instruction number 3, show all calculations and formulae where applicable. Marks will be allocated for this. You must hand in the topographic map, and I hope every school in our province ensured that the maps were handed in and were kept safe for future use. Now, having said that, teachers and learners, let us jump straight into the memo discussion. Now remember we said our question, the first question was in section A, it's question 1, which is on climate and weather. Now, before we move on, can I suggest this to learners and our teachers? Before you even attempt answering these papers, when you have been given the time to read through the question paper, just go through the annexure and check the sketches that are there, the diagrams that are there. And I usually encourage people to say, try and ask yourselves questions on the diagrams that you see on the annexure. Like if you look at figure 1.1, that is, you could just try test yourself. What do you think questions will be on as a form of practice, so that when you answer this, it gives you are easily able to answer the questions when you ask. But if you look at the annexure in figure 1.1, you notice that it's pressure cells, pressure cell A and pressure cell B, and then you notice things that are very important in the sketch would be that the rotation of air around pressure A will be clockwise and B is anti-clockwise. And you notice that at A there is rising air, there's movement of air, and then at B there's descending air. So it gives you an idea that obviously you'd think that maybe at A it should be a low pressure cell, and then B should be a high pressure cell. So let's go back to the questions and see how the answers should be. Air rotation is clockwise in the southern hemisphere. That is 1.1.1. It is associated, this has to happen. And then let me just go straight to the memo. There. Now, remember 1.1.1 says air rotation is clockwise in the southern hemisphere. So that will be pressure sketch A. And then it is 1.1.2, it is associated with cold subsiding air. That will be sketch B. 1.1.3, low pressure is found in the center. That will be sketch A. Associated with unstable weather conditions, 1.1.4, that is sketch A. 1.1.5, air diverges from this pressure cell. Obviously, it's B. Pressure B, sketch B. 1.1.6, the pressure cell is dominant in winter over the interior. That is also sketch B. 1.1.7, associated with calm, clear, and stable conditions. That is also sketch B. And the subtotal for this question is 7 marks. Now let's move on to 1.2. Again, let's look at the question and the instructions. 1.2, refer to figure 1.2 showing line thunderstorms. Select the correct weights from within the brackets to make the statements true. Write only the weights next to the question numbers. There's your example given to you in your answer book. Now let us look at the sketch, figure 1.2. There it is, obviously it says it's line thunderstorms, of which we know, like I said earlier, the first thing that you need to do is line thunderstorms. In which season do we have these? It's summer. Fortunately for us, you have the high pressure cell, which is on the right, on the eastern part of our subcontinent, and another high pressure cell that is on the western part of our subcontinent. We just have to give them names. And then there's air movement, and there's the moisture front. Now let's get right to the questions. Let's get right to the memo. Fine. 1.2.1. The South Indian high pressure cell is situated over obviously it will be a warm ocean current. 1.2.2, moist air is drawn from over the Indian Ocean. 1.2.3, the cold dense air diverges out of the South Atlantic. 1.2.4, Where the air two masses meet, the air two masses meet at the moisture front, 125, cumulonimbus clouds and the west weather conditions will be experienced on the east of this front. 126, hail is associated with line thunderstorms. 1.2.7, fell fires can be triggered by lightning, which is our correct answer there. 1.2.7. 1.2.8, line thunderstorms are more likely to occur in each season. It is the summer season. So again, our subtotal for the question there is 8 marks. I hope learners and teachers were able to get maximum marks on these questions, because if they have now 15 marks from question 1.1 and 1.2, it makes our job easier. It's going to be easier for them to pass this paper. Now let's move on to question 1.3. Again, let's look at what question 1.3 required of us. It says, question 1.3, figure 1.3 shows a satellite image or a satellite photograph of a mid-latitude cyclone. Can we just toggle back to the, there, let's see, figure 1.3, there it is. It shows really, it's a picture showing a mid-latitude cyclone. How do I see that? You see the band of clouds that are over the subcontinent. They show you exactly. There's your cold front. It's there, and then there's your warm front. So obviously this is a mid-latitude cyclone, and again season, or it has to be winter. So let's go back to the question, to the memo, and see the responses and the questions that were given. Now, question 1.3.1 required us, it said, to name the season. It says, in which season do mid-latitude cyclones have the greatest influence on the weather of around Cape Town? So obviously, the correct answer there is winter. 1.3.2, in which general direction is the mid-latitude cyclone moving? Yes, the response there is correct. It's they move from west to east, or they move eastwards. Or you'd say they move in an easterly direction. So you'd have that as part of your response there. 1.3.3, give one piece of evidence from the satellite photograph to indicate that a cold front is present. I think this question is straightforward. We need evidence from the image. So we're not going to take anything that, any response that is not really confined to evidence that has to be from the image. So like it says here, there's a thick band of clouds to the southwest of South Africa. That's evidence that shows that there is a cold front. Figure 1.3.4, question 1.3.4. Describe 2 expected weather conditions associated with the passage of the cold front. Now, any 2, as it says, what happens as the cold front passes over an area? There you have the responses there. The warm, moist air is lifted or forced to rise above the cold, dense air, resulting in the formation of cumulus clouds. The temperature drops with the arrival of the cold front. Heavy rain or hail or thunderstorms will be experienced. Snow can form. Very strong or gale force winds, or the wind backs from northwest to southwest. The air pressure decreases. The relative humidity increases. I think any 2 of the facts listed above will qualify to make 4 marks. Now, 1.3.5, in a paragraph, this is a paragraph question of approximately 8 lines, explain the impact of cold front conditions on farming in the Western Cape. Now, you see, the question in itself doesn't say give us positive or give us negative impacts. It just says give us the impact. So teachers and learners, here we can accept whether you give negative impacts or whether you give positive impact. We can accept both negative and positive. Now let us look at the responses that we have for negative impact. It says cold conditions may damage or kill crops. And then heavy rain may result in floods, and floods can damage or kill crops and animals. Those are negative. Topsoil or fertile soil, crops washed away. Snow or hail can damage crops. The positive impact on farming, obviously to have heavy rains are ideal as crops will grow well. Heavy rains supply much needed water. The total for the question 135 is 8 marks. So we expected learners to get full marks. They would have 4 facts multiplied by 2, which is going to be 8. And the subtotal for the question is 15 marks, which is correct. Fine, let us move to question 1.4. Again, let us look at question 1.4 and see what it requires of us. Question 1.4. Refer to figure 1.4 showing the bergwind. Let us look at figure 1.4. There's your figure 1.4. Obviously, if you look at it, you'd have bergwind. There's air subsiding at A. There's a pressure. There's supposed to be a pressure cell there. Obviously, teachers, you'd have the Kalahari high pressure cell there. And then B, you'd have your ocean. And C would be, there you expect to have, at an area there at C, you expect to have your coastal low pressure cell. Fine, let's go back to the memo and see. Now, it says, the questions, explain what is a bergwind. I think this is the simplest explanation. These are dry, hot winds blowing from the interior towards the coastal areas. Teachers, I think if you refer back to your examination guidelines, you'd notice that starting from this year moving forward, we are going to have a case where our concepts are awarded 2 marks. So you'd have in a question paper a variance of marks awarded, like you'd have some concepts being awarded a mark and some concepts being awarded 2 marks. It doesn't have nothing to do with the difficulty or of the question. It's just that we are trying to move in a direction where at a later stage, all our concepts will be given 2 marks, will be awarded 2 marks. So do not be surprised if you see 2 marks for a concept on your marking guideline on your question paper. Now, question 142. Name the pressure cells A and B indicated on the diagram responsible for the development of the bergwinds. There you'd have pressure cell A as the Kalahari high pressure cell. Pressure cell B is the coastal low. Can I just revert back to the diagram? And I know people would say, because there's C there and pressure cell B there, it would have confused learners and say which is which. Learners would have said B was the South Indian high pressure cell and C should have been the coastal low. But if you look at the question itself, it says name pressure cells A and B indicated that are responsible for development of the bergwind. So we all know that it's only 2 pressure cells that are responsible for the development of bergwinds. It will be pressure, the Kalahari high pressure cell over the interior, which is at A, and then on the coastal area, like along the coast, you have the the coastal low pressure cell. So we can't take any response that talks to the South Indian high pressure cell because it is not responsible for the formation of the bergwind. So I hope we're clear on that one. And then let's move on. 1.4.3, explain the formation of the bergwind. There it is. Dry air from the Kalahari high pressure cell in the interior moves down towards the coastal low pressure cell, 2 marks. The air descends, it warms up adiabatically from 18 degrees Celsius to 20. That's the we can just take that one that says the air descends at, or as the air descends, it warms up adiabatically. Learners do not have to really to give us the temperature range in terms of the changes in air temperature as it moves, or we really the lapse rate. It's not really that important, but it's what's very important. It's for learners to know that as air descends, it warms up adiabatically. And then if you look at that, you'd have 2 times 2, and then it will make 4 marks. Now, question 144. Describe the impact that bergwind conditions will have on people living along the coast at sea. Do you see why it had that sea as a label on our sketch? Now, the responses that we expect are as follows. People will find it difficult to breathe as it is hot and dry. Uncomfortable conditions due to hot and dry air. Workers become lethargic and productivity decreases. Vegetation dries out and the possibility of veld fires increases. Bergwinds can spread a veld fire once it has started. Property and surrounding vegetation can be damaged by these fires. Very importantly, I want us to look at this statement here. It says bergwinds can spread a veld fire once it has started. It doesn't say bergwinds can start veld fires. The winds do not start fires. It's people who start fires or lightning. Winds just help in the spreading of these veld fires. So be cautious and careful as you mark this question. Please, learners cannot be credited for saying they will start veld fires. They don't start the veld fires, they spread the veld fires. One thing to note again in this sub-question is that you notice that it's 14 marks instead of 15 marks as the norm. It's okay. It doesn't mean that every question that we set has to be 15 marks. As long as I'm sorry, I'm just referring to the sub-question. The sub-question is 14 marks, it's okay. It doesn't mean it has to be 15, 15, 15. It's not prescriptive as it is. As long as the question in itself makes up 60 marks. Again, we have to be cautious. As I say, it doesn't have to be 15 marks, but you can't set a sub-question for 8 marks. It has to be at least in the region of 14, 16, 15. That's where you can be. I hope everyone is happy and clear on that sub-question. And then let's move on to question 1.5. What does question 1.5 require of us? Let's look at the instruction again. Question 1.5. It says, refer to figure 1.5, a diary extract based on urban climates. Let's look at the extract. Extract 1.5. There it is. Urban climates, school trip diary. It was taken on the 17th of, it was taken down on the 17th of June. We traveled from Knysna to Mossel Bay, a small town with large-scale commercial cattle and dairy farms, found on the outskirts of the town. With just 20 meters to go, to go to the center of the town, the temperature recorded was 17 degrees Celsius. And then at 10 kilometers, it was 18.5 degrees Celsius. 1 kilometer from the town center, it was 20.6 degrees Celsius. And finally, 23.1 degrees Celsius at the town center. You would notice in this diary entry, it just explains to us that as you move closer to the town center, or as you move towards the town center, there's an increase in the temperature readings. So it talks to urban heat islands. I think it's clear in that way. it's very important for our learners to understand these, for them to understand the diagrams and the sketches that are in the annexure for them, and they need to understand and be able to interpret them very well for them to be able to answer questions that might follow. Now let's look at the questions. I have flighted the memo, but I'm looking at the questions at the same time. Now refer to figure 1.5 that we have read as an instruction. Now question 151, define the concept urban heat island. Again, you'd notice that the concept in this case has been awarded 2 marks. What is an urban heat island? It says it's high temperatures experienced over a city surrounded by cooler rural areas. Remember, when it says to you concept, we don't have to say it's either this definition or nothing. Learners will have different responses that are given as they respond to a concept. What's important is, do they understand the concept? That's what we want to see in this question. Now, question 1.5.2. Determine the difference in temperature from approximately 20 kilometers away from the Mossel Bay to the town center. If I may, let me just refer you back there. What was the temperature at Mossel Bay? It was 17 degrees Celsius. And what is the temperature at the town center? It's 23.1 degrees Celsius. So what do we have to do? We expected our learners just to give us the difference between 23.1 and 17 degrees, and the difference there is 6.1 degrees Celsius, which is correct. So you have your 2 marks just for doing that. Question 1.5.3. Why are the recorded temperatures in the town center higher than the surrounding area? The reasons why we have urban heat island. Basically, that's what the question needed from us. Now let us look at the possible responses. Tall buildings have larger surfaces absorbing heat. Building material used like steel and glass absorb heat. Many cars in the town center release pollution or exhaust fumes. Many heat-generating activities in the center. Tarred roads absorb more heat. Lower humidity in urban areas. Construction removed much of the natural environment. Less natural vegetation to absorb moisture and promote evaporation or cooling. So that is that we expect 2 facts from the list given. Any 2 will qualify for 4 marks. 1.5.4. What impact will the higher temperatures have on people living and working in the town center? Now, what's the impact thereof of a heat island? Then you say responses that we expect: higher risk of heat or stroke or stress or deaths, discomfort due to the increased heat, difficult to breathe, so you have respiratory issues, people become lethargic and productivity decreases, increased spread of vector-borne disease and caused by insects. So you have the 4 marks. Any 2 of the facts qualifies for 4 marks. Question 1.5.5. Suggest 2 sustainable strategies that can be implemented in an attempt to lower the temperatures in the town center. Sustainable strategies. It's very important. That's the key to your question. Then it says, what responses do you expect there? Paint buildings with reflective or light colors. Usually you'd have responses there. I think we should also take that one where learners will be saying paint buildings with white colors or bright colors. It's very, very important. We can take that. Rooftop gardens. Encourage people to use public transport. Create more green belts or plant more vegetation or plant more trees. Move industries away from low-lying areas and near in and near residential areas. You'd have longer chimneys above the thermal belt. Water features to cause evaporational cooling. You'd have ponds and pools around the town or around the center of the town. Replace concrete or tar with cobblestones to allow infiltration. Now you'd notice again here the mark allocation for the sub question is 16 marks. Now it makes up for the 14 that, remember, in the other question we had 14 marks. So that is the total for our question 1 is 60 marks. I think our memo is clear, straightforward on this question. And I just want to say to teachers as they mark, remember, the responses that we have given on the memo, you'd have learners, you have quite a lot of different people in a classroom with different aptitudes in terms of understanding. So make sure that if there are additions, if there are answers that you feel have been given by learners and are correct, which have not been accommodated in the memo, please indicate on your memo in red pen, in red ink, that this is an addition because it qualifies. The learner has given a correct answer. I'm not opening up the memo, I'm just saying be careful as you mark. We have learners who give responses that are not expected and which are highly correct. If we credit anything that you credit that is not in the memo and that you feel is correct, please indicate it on your memo in red ink. Thank you. Let us move to question 2, which was based on geomorphology. Again, I want us to refer to the annexure. Look at its figure 2.3, drainage basin. Figure 2.4, it was fluvial landforms, and then figure 2.5 referred us to river capture. So as I say, I would also advise that as we do our revision for the final exam this time, just give these learners these annexures and say to them, design questions, ask yourselves questions on the annexure. You'd see it gets, it becomes easier for them to respond to the questions on the question paper once they get to understand what is the annexure all about. What questions do they think they can really come up with on an annexure? Like you look at this one that we're really looking at. If you look at this figure 2.3, you'd have questions like, obviously, what is the stream order? What is the stream pattern? You'd have questions that would talk about features, confluence, or all these other questions, you'd have them. So the more learners get to practice on asking questions, it becomes easier for them to respond to questions when they are asked in the question paper. Let's get to the instruction, and then we'll get to the memo. Now, question 2.1 says to us, choose the term or concept from column B that matches the description in column A. Write only the answer next to your question numbers. I think it's very, very important. Again, let us try and encourage our learners to really follow instructions to the letter, because you'd have people here giving, like the instruction says, write only the letter, and then learners will decide to write the concepts on the words. That is not following instructions. Let's teach our learners to follow instructions. It will make our life very, very, very easier if our learners would follow instructions as they are given on the question paper. Fine, let us look at the memo and the responses thereof. Now, 2.1.1, what do we call the origin of the river? It is letter C, which is the source. Now, 2.1.2, the point where two or more streams meet, it is supposed to be confluence, which is represented by the letter G. 2.1.3, a high-lying area separating two streams within a drainage basin, it is supposed to be interfluve, which is represented by letter B. 2.1.4, the area from where a river system obtains its water, it's supposed to be catchment area, which is letter E. 2.1.5, river flow that occurs in thin and smooth layers. It's laminar flow, which is represented by letter D. 2.1.6, a high-lying area separating two drainage basins. That is watershed, which is represented by letter F. 2.1.7, where a river enters the sea, it should be mouth, river mouth, which is represented by letter A. And then 2.1.8, river flow that occurs in a swelling motion, it will be a turbulent, which is represented by letter H. Then it makes our marks for the sub-question 8. So I think all the responses are good on the memorandum. Now let's look at question 1.2. I'm sorry, question 2.2. It says, as an instruction, select the correct word from within the brackets to make the statements true. Write down only the word next to the question numbers in an answer book. There you have it. Again, you just need a word next to the question number. But as we go through the questions, and the other thing is that you need to tell just caution our learners. Once they start writing sentences, it's a waste of time that they don't have because they need 3 hours to complete a paper. So don't waste time on unnecessary things that they are not required to do. Fine. Question 2.2.1. A floodplain or terrace is the flat area of land next to the river. It will be floodplain, the correct answer there. 2.2.2, a raised river bank is known as a delta or a natural levee. Obviously, the answer there is natural levee, which is correct on the memo. 2.2.3, rapids or terraces can be formed when rejuvenation occurs. There, the correct answer is terraces. 2.2.4, a river that splits into many distributaries is known as a delta or a braided stream. So the correct answer there is a braided stream. 2.2.5, when water plunges over a vertical cliff, it forms a waterfall or a rapid. The correct answer there is a waterfall. 2.2.6, A or N graded or ungraded river longitudinal profile is smooth and concave from the source to the mouth. We all know that a graded profile should be smooth and concave. So that is the correct answer as it appears on the memo. 2.2.7, the lowest level to which a river can erode is known as the permanent base level. There you have it. Sub-question, 7 marks, correct. All the responses are okay. Fine, let's move on to question 2.3. 2.3.1. Let's look at the instruction and we'll talk the question. Oh, let me just toggle back to the instruction 2.3 very quickly. Refer to figure 2.3 of a drainage basin. Just says that. Figure 2.3, and we were looking at 2.3. There's your 2.3, and then let's look at the questions. Now, first question, define the concept drainage basin. There again, concept, you see, it's been given 2 marks. It is an area drained by a river system, drainage basin, or a total area of land surface drained by a stream network, or a total area drained by a river, main river, and its tributaries. You'd have different definitions. Importantly, it's a concept. 2.3.2, name the drainage pattern evident on figure 2.3. Remember, the drainage pattern that is there is the dendritic drainage pattern. There it is. It's dendritic. You can't name any other. It's the dendritic. Fine, let's go back to the memo. Determine the stream order at A along the river. And it says it's the 3rd order stream. I think stream ordering, it's correct. It's the third order stream. You notice as you do your stream ordering. There. Maybe let me just go back and show teachers. Remember, this is our first order streams here, and then here you have a second order stream, and here again you have a second order stream. So it's first and first, first and first. It's second order here, second order here, second order here. So these two second order streams, as they meet here, they will form third order. But as the water moves downwards towards the ocean, and you'd notice that now you have your second and your, this is second and third. It's going to remain third order stream. So that is that. So your answer there is third order stream. Let's move on. 2, 3, 4. Describe the rock structure of which this drainage pattern develops. It develops on a uniform or similar uniform rock structure, or a rock structure with similar resistance to erosion, or learners would say in this case massive igneous rocks or horizontal sedimented rocks. Any one of the responses that are given above will qualify for an answer. Fine, let's look at 2, 3, 5. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain the factors responsible for the high drainage density evident in the drainage basin. Remember, this question talks about factors that lead to high drainage density in a drainage basin. There you have the responses. The first one says rainfall. Heavy rainfall results in increased surface runoff. Gradient, steep slopes increase water running on the surface. Impermeable surfaces will promote more water running off. No or less vegetation cover will promote surface runoff. Saturated soils will result in greater surface runoff. Again, I have to refer you to this question. It says, explain the factors responsible for the high drainage density. We are not going to credit anyone who just gives rainfall, gradient, impermeable surfaces, less vegetation, saturated. So those are not explanations. Learners have to learn. And please, teachers, let's be strict on this one. We credit only when a learner explains how rainfall has an impact on the high drainage density. And again, we don't give half marks. We never have, in our subject, no question is credited half mark. So it's either 2 marks or nothing. That's a rule as it stands. So we don't, I'm saying it again, don't credit if a learner writes only rainfall, just the words. Remember instruction that we read, write in full sentences when required to, when instructed to write in full sentences. So that's where you're going to apply that rule as per our instructions. Let's move to question 2.4. 2.4. Let's look at the instruction question 2.4. It says 2.4 shows a fluvial feature or fluvial landform. Let's look at the fluvial feature in 2.4. There it is, fluvial landform 2.4. It's showing us a meandering stream. Okay, fine. Let's look at the questions and the answers thereof. Question 1. Name the fluvial landform or fluvial feature depicted in 2.4. It's a meander. That is correct. 2.4.2, state the 2 fluvial processes that lead to the formation of the feature identified there. Fluvial processes that are responsible for the formation of a meander will be erosion as a fluvial process and deposition as a fluvial process. There you have 2, it's 1 plus 2 times 1 is 2 marks. Draw a labeled cross profile from a meandering loop that is from A to B on the sketch. And then you'd say A is a slip off. Please be careful how you award marks there. It's 4 marks. So the labels will be important. You'd give marks for the shape, mark for the slip off, and then again mark for the shape of the cut river bank or undercut. slope or the outer bank slope, and then you'd have marks for the shape again. Let's move to question 2.44. Why is the area near the slope A the most suitable site for human activities? Now the question says, why is it suitable for human activities? Now let's look at our memo. It's suitable because there is fertile soil available for cultivated land. The river is shallow, easy to access water, easy for fishing, safe to swim as water is shallow. The slope is gentle, easy to farm, use machinery. Now look at the last response on your memo. It says it's possible danger of flooding. Remember, once you say now it's a negative, and our question said suitable. What is it that's suitable? Suitable thing, positive things. There, so I say just strike out that one, possible danger of flooding. It's not suitable. If you say the place has got a possible danger of flooding, then it means it's not suitable for human activities. So that is why you have to strike that one off. It's not part of our responses in the memo. It would have been an ideal answer if the question said, what are the negatives of living near that area? Then you'd have that. So it's not part of our answer. Please strike that one off. 245. Explain how this landform can. Yes, we're in question 2.5. Explain how this landform in figure 2.4 can change over time due to the narrowing of the neck at sea. There you have it. And then you say, as more erosion and deposition takes place, the neck will eventually break through. The river will straighten its course. Deposition will eventually separate the cut-off meander. The cut-off meander becomes an oxbow lake. That is 15 marks for the question. And then let's look at question 2.5, which is the last question for this, the last sub-question for this question. It says, refer to figure 2.5, which shows a meandering, stream capture, river capture or stream piracy. There you have it. You have diagram X before capture, diagram Y after capture again. You'd have questions. You can ask yourself, what is E? What is D? Why did stream B capture D? Those questions. And you'd ask yourself questions on this sketch. You'd notice some of the questions that you ask yourself. Remember, you can't ask yourself questions that you don't have answers to, obviously. Then you'd find that these questions that you ask yourself will be questions that are in the question paper. Let's just test this and see. Fine. Question 2.5. Define the concept river capture. There it is. When a more energetic stream steals the water of a less energetic stream, or when a powerful river cuts back at its source by headward erosion and captures the waters of a neighboring river. There you have your 2 marks there. Fine. 252. Name the type of erosion taking place at X in the diagram which resulted in river capture occurring. Let's just look at it. There, where's X, the type of erosion occurring here that leads to this stream being longer will be a backward erosion. There you have it, headward erosion or back wasting. Fine. 253. Name features D and E which prove that river capture has taken place. The features at D will be the elbow of capture and E will be the wind gap. Please do not, we do not accept that response that says river gravels at E. Remember, river gravels is what you find at the wind gap. It's not a feature. River gravels is not a feature. It's what you find at a feature. What you find at the wind gap, you find river gravels. So river gravels is not a feature. So we're not going to take river gravels for this one. 2.5.4. Explain the process of river capture which led to river B capturing river A. You just had to explain the process there. You say river B is flowing at a lower level. The tributary of river B is flowing over the softer rock and is more energetic. tributary of River B intersects the River A through headward erosion. The captured water from River A now drains into River B. River B water supply increases. There you have your 4 marks. What caused the river to flow and capture and just to capture the other stream. 2.5.5, explain how the livelihood of people living along River A in the diagram at Y will, I just want to show you the, what is happening now? There, I just want us to see the diagram. There it is, explain why, how the livelihood at Y, at A there. Remember, at A there, it's what we call a misfit stream. It's simply saying that no longer water supply coming in. So how will the livelihood of people be affected in an area where we no longer have water supply? There it is. Less water will be available for domestic use. Less water will be available for agriculture, causing low production. Less production will result in shortage of food and less jobs. Food prices will increase and tourism will decline. Any 3 of the responses will qualify for 6 marks. Subtotal for the question is 15 marks and the total for the question is 60 marks. Now let's move on quickly to section B, which is the map work part. Remember, we were given a map of, this is the map that we were given, that was given to us to work on. It's a map from, an extract actually from Gr12, and then that's what you see, topo map and an ortho-rectified image of Gr12. So all our answers in this section B, question 3, will be based on both these maps. Very importantly, again, as I want to caution, advise learners to read instructions, because now in this question, you'd have questions that are directing learners to either the topo map or the orthophoto. They just have to read and understand instructions on this one. Now let us look at the questions there. Map skills and calculations, which is question 3.1. Various options are provided as possible answers to the following questions. Choose the answer and write only the letter A to D next to each question on the answer sheet. Now let's look at question 3.1.1. The scale of the topographic map is, the options that were given there, 1 centimeter represents 1 kilometer, 1 centimeter represents 1,000 kilometers, C, 1 centimeter represents 500 meters, and D, 1 centimeter represents 5 kilometers. So the correct option there is C, which is the scale will be 1 centimeter represents 500 meters. 3.1.2, the orthophoto map is it a large scale map, orthophoto, B, a small scale map, C, even scale map, or D, a detailed scale map? The correct answer there will be A, which is a detailed scale map. 3.1.3, refer to the orthophoto map and calculate the distance between spot height 821 in block C1 and the trigonometrical station 265 in block D3. Very importantly, most of the learners in this question got it wrong because they did not look at the orthophoto. They went and jumped straight into the topographical map. So it's very important as we do a remedial with them, as we revise this question paper, please caution them that they have to really read and understand and interpret the instructions very well. Now there you have it there. The distance is 9.5 centimeters. Remember, as you give your marks, as you award marks, don't forget the units of measurement. Again, important. Do not credit learners who do not give us units of measurement. It's 9.5 centimeters, 1 mark. And then 950 meters, a mark there. and then or you'd have that as it's shown. You'd have two methods that are shown for us to, and then to do the calculation, and the range there is 900. You take answers between 940 meters to 960 meters. That's our range. Let's look at question 3.1.4. The slope from spot height 821 in block C1 northeast towards the Sunday River is. Now this one again, it was referring to the orthophoto map, that the slope, let's just go there, block C1 there. I just want to make this bigger. If we can make it bigger and see the slope there, block C1, you'd notice there it just required us the slope here, this slope. It's a convex slope, as it says in our memo. Yes, it's a convex slope. Now 3.1.5, a calculation of magnetic declination. Very importantly, again, answers, I would like to say, learners and teachers, let's just encourage our teachers, let's encourage our learners. Questions for map work, answers are on the map. You don't have to stress about them. Just if learners know how to interpret and work on the map, they find all the answers there. 3.1.5, calculate the magnetic declination for the topographic map now. And then for the current year, what is the current year? 2021. So they had to calculate the magnetic declination for 2021. There you have the calculations as they appear. Very importantly, remember, it's only 5 marks. Just check, you just don't give marks. You give marks to the steps that have been like as it appears on our memo. On our marking guideline, there you have, you award marks for 12 years, award marks for the mean change, award marks for the total change, 1, 2, 3, award marks for the magnetic declination, and the addition, whether they subtract or add, and then you award marks for the final answer. There you have your 5 marks. So the answer there is 26 degrees and 31 minutes west. There, very importantly, if I do not see units, I do not award marks. Thank you. And then we don't have a range in this one, just a clear, simple, straightforward answer. Let's look at question 3.2 very quickly. Map interpretation. It says 3.2.1. The town Gr12 is located in a valley between 2 mountain ranges. Name the slope wind that will develop in this area at night. Obviously at night, slope winds that we have are Catapartic winds. 3.2.1b, explain the negative impact of the Catapartic wind now on the inhabitants of Gr12. You'd have the inhabitants will experience cold conditions. The inhabitants will experience frost, temperatures below freezing point. There, very importantly, no one should be awarding marks if learners are talking about the vegetation will die, there is going to be freezing water. No. How will that impact on inhabitants, not on the environment? Very important. That's the line sorry, we have to draw on that. 3.2.2, Spandau Kop in block E3 on the top map can be described as a mesa or as a butte. Now, you see your response there in 3.2.2. It strays away from what the question asked, because the options that were given to learners there were either a butte or a mesa. So what we did is we looked at that Spandau Kop. There it is, Spandau Kop. If you look at it, yes, it's actually a conical hill, but because the responses that were given, so learners would credit, I think we should also credit a butte or a butte, because options that were given for learners were limited to butte or mesa. So you can credit a butte, but really, if you can't really credit a mesa, because it's not a flat topped mountain that you see there. It's not as big as a Mesa. But again, it's not as big as a Butte, but because that's the only closest option that you'd have to credit learners, let us credit them for a Butte. Fine. 3.2.2. B. Identify the drainage pattern found around the Spandau Kop. And then the radial pattern is the correct answer. We could see there, if I may take you there, you'd see around you'd have streams radiating outward from the central point, radiating outwards, which is a radial pattern. Thank you. Fine. 3.2.3. Refer to the topographic map. Provide one piece of evidence to prove that the Sunday River is in middle course. There you say it's fairly wide, evidence of lateral erosion. There is evidence of meandering. I think this one again, it's Sundays, it says refer to Sunday's River. If you look at Sunday's River, let's just see where we can find Sunday's River. There's my Sunday's Sondag Rivier. That's Sondag Rivier. So we know if it's Sondag, it's Sunday. So I doubt if anyone could have said, no, there was no Sunday River on the map. It's Sondag Rivier, Sunday River. There it is. And then look at the Sunday River. I'll try and make it bigger so that we can, let me see. There's Sunday River. If you look at it, you notice there's your meandering. See? And then you'd see the area that the river is flowing on is relatively flat. So you'd say it's in the middle course because it can't be really at the lower course. Remember, rivers flowing at the lower course have a lot of features and have to be close to the sea. And there you have it. There's your meandering stream. We just evidence that this river is in the middle course. Fine. You have fairly wide showing evidence of lateral erosion, and then you have evidence of meandering, and then I think we also can credit it's flowing on a fairly gentle area or flat area or gentle slope. Fine, let's look at 3.24. 3.24, refer to block C3, orthophoto map. Why are trees planted along the bank of the Sunday River? Again, this is a very interesting question. I'll just toggle to the orthophoto and look at the Sunday River. There's again Sondag Rivier. Don't forget, Sondag Rivier, Sunday River. We are a country that is bilingual. So please don't say learners were disadvantaged because it was written Sunday River. What about learners who are not taking Afrikaans? It's there, Sondag is Sunday. I think in hindsight, it also says as we work on these question papers, again, we have to take care that we provide what we call translations for our learners. But fortunately, if you look at page 6 of your question paper, of your annexure, there are translations like Sunday's River, it's there, Sondag's River. So we won't blame anyone for anything. Fine. Let's look at the question. It wanted us to say why do we have trees planted there along the Sunday's River? Why do we have these trees that are planted here? Let's look at the responses that we have. They stabilize the river bank. They encourage deposition of the river sand. They stop erosion from taking place. They create a buffer zone against flooding. They also serve as windbreaks for settlement that is next to the river. If you notice, there's a settlement there. So the trees will also serve as windbreakers or windbreaks for that settlement. So any one of those responses qualifies for 2 marks. 3.2.5. Explain 2 physical or 2 natural factors from the topographic map which promoted farming on the Gelek farm in block H4. Can you just quickly go to Gelek farm, block H4, topographic map? There we are, H4. Gelek Farm. There's your Gelek Farm. Natural features that really promote farming in this area. Looking at it, you'd notice there's a canal, there's water, there's relatively flat land. There is, remember, it's explained from the topo map. So it has, and then there's a road there for transportation. So you'd have those as your possible responses. Let's look at them. There's a flat area to make cultivation. Mechanization is easier. There's water available for irrigation. There's underground source of water, wind pump. There's another road. There's an access to roads to transport goods to the market. There are large tracts of land for farming on a large scale. Fortunately, I think here I'm just expecting our learners to get maximum marks in this question. Total subscript question is 12 marks. Let's look at the last question on our memo. Geographical Information Systems. 331A. Define the concept attribute data. There it's a concept, describes the characteristics of a spatial feature. 332. Oh no. And then you have 331B. Now please try and correct that on your memo. That you have 331A and 331B. Then it says, give one piece of attribute data about the N9 in block C6 on the topographic map. There you have it. It's red in color, national route, and then it's moving any attribute that comes from there. The R63 joins the N9. And then 332. Please just look at the numbering of this question so that we don't make mistakes when we mark. 332A. You see there where it says 333, it should be 332A. Please take note of that one, that it's supposed to be 332A. And then remove this one, it's 331P. Please take note of that one. Question 1, define the concept attribute data. Well, we have answered that one. 332, give the data format of the golf course. It's a vector data. Give the reason for your answer there. It shows shape, it shows a polygon, or it shows an area. 333, you see your 334 it's supposed to be 333. Please take note of that one. Define the concept data layer. It's a layer represents data in a particular theme. And then 333B, give an example of drainage data layer found in the red block on the topographic map. There you have an example of a drainage data. You have Sondag River there, or Sunday's River, or a non-perennial rivers that you have there. Sub-question, 8 marks. Total for the question, 30 marks. Total for the paper, 150 marks. That comes to, I think this marks the end of our memo discussion, colleagues. And I hope we have taken note of the changes that we have to make and additions that we have to make. Fortunately, we do not have to make many changes on our memo and the additions thereof. I hope we are really rooting for more than 50% pass on this paper. Remember, we're still writing our paper 2 on the 17th of, on the 27th of September. Please let us prepare ourselves for paper 2 and let us study very hard. I think what we see in this year in our grade 12 exam, for the first time that our learners are able to just focus on certain topics and master them and write them, and we expect them to pass. We expect a lot of level 7s this year. Having said that, thank you for spending time with me today, and enjoy the rest of the day. Good luck for the rest of the year. Thank you.